A total of 6 jackfruit seeds were extracted. It was still relatively cold in March. I used a tissue to help them sprout, sprinkle some water, and cover with plastic wrap. Wait for them to sprout. After 20 days, no sprouts yet. I peeled off the seed coats. After peeling off the skin, 1 week later, after 7 days, on day 15, several had sprouted. By day 27, many leaves had grown. The leaves had become much bigger. The leaves of this jackfruit tree, on day 50, weren't very tall, but it was dense and lush, looking at the sharp tips. Now, only keep the one that's growing the best. I brought back some chestnuts. They were quite large and full, so I thought I'd try planting them to see if they could grow into a big tree. But the chestnut shells are pretty hard. If I don't remove them, it will affect the germination. I plan to pick a few and peel off the shells. This way, it would be easier for them to sprout. I used a knife to cut the shell. I put them in a small pot to help them sprout. Then quickly watered them to set the roots. Next, I covered them with a layer of soil and smoothed out the soil. By the 3rd day, one had already sprouted. On the 5th morning, it had grown some fuzz. I was afraid it might die, so I quickly used a toothpick to remove the white fuzz. Then, I dug up the soil to check. Luckily, the seed wasn't rotten. It should still be able to recover once it sprouts more. I'll show you the progress. At the end of June, I bought a mango. I cut it open and found the seed inside, looking like a clamshell. This time, I directly placed the paper towel in a plastic box and sprayed it with water and placed the mango seed on top. Then, I covered it with a layer of plastic wrap, just waiting for it to grow. It had noticeably turned greener. I opened the plastic wrap, and the seed had grown a dark red root. I felt this time it would work. So, I planted it root down in a pot. The soil had moisture, so I didn't need to water. A few days later, it had grown 3 leaves. The leaves still had a bit of brown, and the color slowly turned green. It finally grew its 4th leaf. Now, at day 70, it has already grown 6 leaves. 3 months ago, a friend asked me to plant mulberries. At that time, and unexpectedly, there were seeds inside the fruit. I used tweezers to extract the seeds and wrap them in a wet tissue. I sprayed some water and put them in a plastic bag to encourage germination. Half a month later, I opened the bag and saw many seeds had sprouted. The germination rate seemed pretty high, thinking I'd first grow the seedlings, then select the best ones later. Soon, a leaf began to grow, after 10 days. On day 12, it had many new leaves. By day 60, the leaves are heart-shaped. By day 70, the mulberry tree had finally grown up. These leaves are mulberry leaves. After 10 more days, it had grown a bit stronger. The mulberry leaves were particularly lovely, but now, the trunk had started to harden. By day 92, it had grown into a healthy little tree, with dense branches and leaves. I heard that mangoes from the supermarket can also grow into mango trees. So, I bought 2 of different varieties. I first opened this yellow sparrow mungo. When I cut it open, I saw the mango seed inside. I cut the seed in half with a knife. When cutting, the knife hit the outer shell, and I could clearly feel it was tough to cut. It seemed swollen, and there was definitely a seed inside, kinda like a bee. One end of the seed clearly had a sprout point. I washed the seed, then wrapped it in a paper towel, and prepared to keep it moist to encourage sprouting. Finally, I sprinkled some water, keeping the paper towel wet. I found a sealed plastic bag, put the seed inside, and once it sprouts, I'll show you the progress.